Throw away the trash made by those less fortunate. Haha. A client at work, whom I'll refer to as Derek, expressed his dissatisfaction with something I had created. It was a wedding dress that I had struggled to make recently. Despite my efforts to comply with Derek's detailed requests and frequently changing demands, he tore the dress in front of me and trampled on it. For me, the creator, his actions were nothing but humiliating. Therefore, I decided to retaliate with the help of a classmate, Lisa. With the cooperation of my colleagues, I executed a plan and decided to add a final touch. Facing Derek, who had barged in, I delivered a decisive remark. "Derek, things won't go your way." I couldn't let him have his way any longer. My name is Tom. I am a man in my 40s who often suffers from back pain. Working at a company where desk jobs are prevalent, I'm often worried about getting insufficient exercise. I work for a wedding dress manufacturing company. Creating memories for people is the one thing that makes me proud of my otherwise ordinary life. Especially since many wear a wedding dress only once, I feel a strong sense of responsibility during my work. At the same time, the process of understanding clients' preferences and meticulously designing each detail according to their wishes is the most enjoyable part for me. The other day, a client was delighted with her design. That's good to hear. I hope they have a wonderful wedding. For me, the joyous moments in my work are when I see our clients' happy faces. My interest in wedding dresses dates back to when I was quite young. I believe it began when I was invited to the wedding of a neighbor's sister during my elementary school years. The colorful wedding dress she wore left a lasting impression on me, even as an adult. As a child, I was deeply impacted when I saw a colorful outfit that seemed to reflect the vibrant personality of an energetic older sister. Having always thought wedding dresses were white, I was surprised to see someone wearing a colorful dress without it being for a costume change. Curious, I asked her, "Why is your dress so colorful?" Perhaps because it's the most me outfit. After all, a wedding only happens once in a lifetime. The way she smiled so happily when she answered me was memorable. That experience inspired me to want to carefully craft wedding dresses that fit each client perfectly when I grew up. It's autumn. The office is getting colder, and we're adjusting the room temperature with heating devices. In the morning, not long after arriving at work, I was sharing old memories with a junior colleague. A young man working on promotional posters next to me said, "I see." He's a diligent young man in his 20s named James, who joined the company this spring. James always works hard and is a very good person. Eager to absorb knowledge and grow by observing us, he's rewarding to teach. That's why you listen carefully to the client's requests. Right. Without proper consultation, we can create a dress that fits the client. Making an image into a tangible dress for custom orders must be tough. The interested junior looked up with admiration and muttered, "That's impressive." Although he's currently focused on promotional work, I might let him help with wedding dress designs in the future. Exposing him to various tasks now will surely be beneficial when the time comes. Just as I finished reminiscing and was pondering the future, my cell phone in my chest pocket rang. Checking the screen, I saw the name of a client for whom I was responsible. To avoid disturbing James, I left the room and called a client outside the building. Then, the man on the other end shouted, "You're late in getting back to me." The man, Derek, a man in his 30s, let out a voice filled with anger. He is the second-generation president of a well-known company. I'm sorry. Not even a minute had passed since the call ended, but the person on the other end seemed quite impatient. As I offered my apologies, Derek snorted and continued, "I hope the dress is ready. It's made simple and elegant for my girlfriend, without any unnecessary decorations, right?" He wanted to know how far along my work was. However, this wasn't the first time he had called about this matter, so I couldn't help but think, Not this again. Because Derek calls almost every day, it's been a bit overwhelming. Of course, the work is progressing well. I recall Derek's request in my head. He wanted a dress for a demure woman, something not too flashy. So, I've been careful to design it without going overboard. Really? You're not slacking off, are you? Where exactly are you in the process? He asked in detail about what had been completed and how much progress had been made. While some might find such questions annoying, there's no choice but to respond since it's part of the job. Understandably, he's concerned since it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, but despite my careful responses, he seemed unsatisfied. Such answers only leave me worried. It's because you're unreliable that I, as a client, have to check in daily. Probably because you're only a high school graduate. You can't do your job properly. The conversation veered off into a critique of my educational background. I didn't know what to say and just listened quietly. Arguing back could lead to the cancellation of the order, which would harm the company, and I didn't want to prolong the call with unnecessary comments. Derek, who spent tens of minutes on the call, seemed satisfied afterward. He insulted me, suggesting I didn't go to college because I was dumb or poorly educated because I was poor. In the end, he said, "Don't think I'll accept anything subpar," and hung up. During the call, Derek mostly talked by himself, indicating he didn't need any responses from me. It's strange to think that he's the president of a company. How does someone who doesn't listen to others manage a company? Later, when I discussed this with James, he suggested, maybe it's a case where the others are competent. Maybe his parents are wealthy enough to cover any managerial blunders, or perhaps the people around him are capable. I see. Though he's a troublesome client for us, maybe he's well received by his inner circle, and others are working hard for him. The world is full of people who are not as they seem. Among my friends, there's even a woman who likes a bossy man, so maybe Derek is just another such person. Reflecting on this later, it turned out to be true, but at the time, I never imagined Derek could be so awful. A few days later, since it was my day off, I spent the morning relaxing and then decided to go to the department store to buy a model kit, my hobby. To do quality work, it's important to take proper breaks on days off. I was planning to buy a model kit to assemble that day but never expected to run into a familiar face. As I walked through the department store, a woman in her 40s approached me. "Tom, isn't it? Long time no see." The person who called out to me was Lisa. She was a classmate from high school and now runs a fairly large company. "Yeah, it's been a while. I think the last time we met was about 5 years ago. Despite living close by, we hardly see each other. I tend to laze around at home on my days off. I get too tired from work to want to go out, that's why." Though I hadn't seen Lisa for several years, we were able to converse smoothly once we started talking. As we walked together, we easily exchanged banter. I was filled with nostalgia, reminiscing about how we used to interact like this since our high school days. Back in our 20s, we used to go camping in the mountains or swimming in the sea. Must be the age, right? Tom, that's a bit rude, isn't it? Pointing out a woman's age like that. Our conversation was lively, so we decided to have lunch together since we were both there. I had only eaten a light breakfast, so I was thinking of having a hearty meal. "I want to eat a hamburger. What about you, Tom?" "I'll have the hamburger too. It reminds me of the ones we served at the school festival." What a coincidence. I was thinking the same thing. I remembered when we were high school students, our class came together to run a hamburger stand at the school festival. Both Lisa and I were on cooking duty, tasting so much that we grew tired of it. Even as we said grace and began our meal, the stories from the past seemed endless. However, as the conversation progressed, I was stunned by what I heard next. "What? You're getting married?" "Yes. My partner is a bit younger than me, quite handsome. He's the president of a growing company. Not the founder, but the second generation. So he's a bit unaccustomed to hardship. Well, congratulations. I sincerely offered my congratulations to my friend. I had wondered why someone as nice as her hadn't married yet, so I was glad to hear she had found someone suitable. It was heartwarming to know that her dream of getting married was coming true, as she had always wanted to. He proposed by saying, "Even if you just laze around at home, I want you to marry me. Don't you think he's a great guy? Is he some kind of saint?" It seemed her partner was utterly smitten with Lisa. The phrase "you don't have to do anything" feels like something you wouldn't say unless you really like someone. He's just a normal guy. His name is Derek Jamison. Sounds normal from that name, doesn't it? It is not an usual name. Yet, the name sounded familiar. I had a client with the same name in my current job. While it's not uncommon for people to share names, such a coincidence seemed remarkable. No, I remember that my client Derek requested a modest and elegant dress. Considering Lisa, who is bright and straightforward, it doesn't seem to match, so they must be different people. We're planning a wedding in 3 months, so I'll send you an invitation. Thanks, I'll bring something nice. Thank you, but Lisa's smile quickly faded, showing a hint of concern. What's wrong? Something bothering you? It's a bit awkward to say, but he's very focused on educational background. What do you mean? Lisa says that Derek, or Derek Jamison, is tough on people who didn't finish middle or high school. He apparently makes it known that he doesn't want to associate with anyone who hasn't graduated from college. I frowned at the conversation taking a turn for the worse. Of course, I think it's a terrible way to think, but I wonder if it's okay to invite you. While I initially thought he was a good person, Derek seemed to have his issues. Why would Lisa marry someone like that? Seeing my reaction, she awkwardly continued. He knows it's an unfair prejudice and is trying to change, so as his partner, I believe I have to trust him. So, Derek was currently working to overcome his biases. That left me speechless. As just a classmate of Lisa's, my opinions wouldn't help but possibly intrude. I hoped their differing values wouldn't lead to a breakup. You're going to be with him from now on. Use your love as a whip or whatever it takes to help him improve. Of course, we're going to be a married couple, so we have to work together. We continued to reminisce about our high school days over lunch, then parted ways. A few days later, as I was diligently working at the office, my phone rang. The dress had moved into the sewing stage, but perhaps due to his concern for the progress, he started calling multiple times a day. I wished he would stop because it hindered my work, but he wouldn't listen. So, with a sigh, I looked at my phone, but this time it was a call from Lisa. She rarely calls me during work hours, so this is quite unusual, even though she typically contacts me on holidays or in the evening. Wondering if something had happened, I stepped out of the office to return her call as I headed outside. "Hello, is this Tom?" "What's up, Lisa? It's unusual for you to call at this time." "It's hard to say, but I thought I had to tell you." Lisa sounded downcast, different from when we last met. What she began with actually was a surprising fact for me. For starters, it became clear that her fiancé, Derek, and my client, Derek, were the same person, but that was the least of my concerns. Hearing the more shocking content left me speechless. "Is that true?" "Yes, so I'm sorry." "No, it's not your fault. It's all Derek's doing." Feeling sorry for my classmate who apologized in a low voice, I held my head in my hands, picturing Derek's face. "Let's think about what we should do next. I'll call you back after work." "Okay, sorry, Tom." Derek, like me, is a wedding dress designer and seems to be causing trouble for our company. I can't just leave him be. A wedding dress I had been working on recently was finally completed, and I had arranged for Derek, the client, to come in and check it. Derek, who came to the company, seemed irritated throughout, and Lisa, who came with him, felt uncomfortable. It was the first time she and I met at this company. Though it's a weekday, she must have taken the day off just for this. I showed Derek and Lisa the wedding dress we put on a mannequin, alongside James. It's a simple piece with fewer decorations, just as requested. I removed the cloth covering the dress and handed it to James. He is a junior colleague, invited for learning purposes. Since he has no part in what follows, I had him wait quietly in a corner of the room. This is the wedding dress you requested. Turning back to Derek and his group, I began to explain about the finished wedding dress. I intended to thoroughly communicate the changes made during the design process, but I was cut off mid-sentence. That's enough. I try my best to meet Derek's expectations. I have sent him the design forecasts and shown him photos of the dress in progress on several occasions. We've confirmed it many times. So, it should not have been a total surprise. If they were happy with it, everything would have been resolved smoothly, but that was not the case. What a terrible wedding dress. It's completely different from the image I conveyed. I can't let Lisa wear something like this. Derek started criticizing the wedding dress in front of him, saying the design was bad and the materials were poor. While Lisa's personality might not suit it, the current design was precisely what he asked for. I tailored it according to your order, but it didn't meet your expectations. Of course not. Such a plain dress will make our special day look poor. It doesn't suit Lisa's bright personality. His words, negating all previous requests, left me at a loss for how to react. I've lived long enough to see a lot, but this was my first time encountering someone so unreasonable. My mouth was agape, and so was my James's, who was present. He muttered under his breath from the corner of the room, "What's going on in that guy's head? Don't be too harsh, Derek. Someone worked hard on this." Lisa is kind to say that, but effort alone isn't enough. It's business. Without results, it's meaningless. Indeed, he was right, but I didn't want to hear that from him. Despite his angry demeanor, Derek seemed to have a soft spot for Lisa, hastily offering various consoling words. "What should we do, Tom? It's clear as day that we're not going to satisfy him with this situation. Considering something like this might happen, I recorded some of our conversations. Should I bring it? Well, what should we do?" Hearing our conversation, Derek, who had just finished comforting Lisa, turned towards us with a furrowed brow and spoke in a flustered manner. "This is what I ordered. I've paid for it, so I'll take it." "So, you're going to use this dress for the wedding?" Hearing this, Lisa asked with a puzzled face, not understanding what was meant. Derek, seeing Lisa's bewildered expression, shook his head and opened his mouth. "Of course not. I can't let you wear something so terrible. Besides," he stopped mid-sentence and continued with a disdainful look at us. "The man standing before us is a high school graduate. Who knows what problems might arise from something made by someone with such a low level of education? It can't be trusted." Just as I was wondering what he would do with the dress he had paid for, Derek grabbed the dress on the mannequin and tore it apart. Using scissors he had conveniently brought in his pocket. "Throw away this trash made by the less fortunate, haha," he said, looking at us and laughing mockingly. Additionally, he trampled on the fragments of the wedding dress on the floor as he left the room. Lisa, looking pale, was apologizing, but I couldn't process her words due to the shocking event. Fortunately, at least he didn't refuse to pay. It was a relief that the company didn't suffer, but my pride as a designer was shattered. However, Derek, who had inflicted damage on my spirit, seemed to have planned further harassment. That night, he apparently attempted to post bad reviews about my company online. Had Lisa not discovered and stopped it, who knows what would have happened. She stayed at Derek's place to monitor his actions, preventing the incident. An hour after work ended, she informed me through an email, I learned later that night, Lisa and Derek had a terrible argument. But fortunately, because Lisa threatened, if you post bad things online, I won't marry you, we didn't suffer any damage. However, I wasn't just going to let things slide. To strengthen my resolve, I deliberately voiced my feelings. Derek, things won't go your way. Fortunately, knowing Derek's plot in advance, I was already prepared for retaliation. If Derek hadn't taken dishonest actions today, those plans might have never come to light. Using the information from Lisa, I contacted various companies. These were small companies that produced threads and fabrics, which had been pressured or harassed by Derek's company. My plan was to persuade these companies to stop dealing with Derek and instead do business with our company. I didn't force them, but they all quickly agreed, indicating that their relations with Derek were already poor. From that day on, production of wedding dresses at Derek's company began to delay. According to Lisa, Derek became increasingly exhausted due to complaints from customers. Then, on the day before the wedding, a haggard-looking Derek stormed into our company. "You've been in touch with the companies we deal with lately. I heard about it. Stop harassing us now." "What are you talking about? I've only been trading with companies necessary for making dresses. That it happened to be your companies is just a coincidence. Don't lie so blatantly. I know what you're up to. If you're going to play it like that, we'll spread bad reviews about you." Derek, red-faced and spluttering with anger, raised his voice, but would Lisa allow that? "If you do that, won't your fiancé be angry? I won't be responsible if she calls off the engagement." "Lisa will understand me." I silently denied those words in my heart. Lisa is not the kind of person who affirms everything someone does. In my memories, she always pointed out mistakes, even if it was a close friend or someone superior. Sighing, I then noticed Lisa arriving afterward. "Lisa, why are you here? I expected something like this. As your fiancé, I can imagine your actions to some extent." She gave me a brief look of apology before turning towards Derek. "Derek, it's unacceptable to demean other companies for the sake of your own." "What are you talking about? With that kind of naivety, you won't survive. I understand that society is tough, but that doesn't justify hurting others." Derek, turning pale, averted his gaze from Lisa and glared at me instead. "You've seduced Lisa. How dare you lay hands on another man's woman? He has nothing to do with this. This is my decision. As my fiancé, don't you understand that?" "No, that's..." Pressed by Lisa's assertiveness, Derek now turned white and began to sweat. "We can't be together anymore." Lisa calmed herself and seemed to realize that she was in the room where the wedding dress was shown. Her gaze fell to the floor scattered with pieces of the dress Derek had shredded. "Let's break up." Hearing this, Derek grabbed Lisa's shoulder, pleading with spittle flying. "Please don't. Think it over. The wedding is tomorrow. I love you." "Love? That's probably a lie. I've known it for a while." "What? You only targeted my company because it produces high-quality materials to grow your own. You never loved me." Lisa's company is known for producing quality thread. That must have been why Derek targeted her and got close. "I overheard you talking to yourself when you were drunk." Hearing Lisa's sorrowful words, Derek collapsed on the spot. Everything was going well until now. This is a joke. Where did I go wrong? Instead of offering an apology, Derek proved to be more despicable than imagined. It's ridiculous that a company with a high school graduate has a better reputation than mine. I thought just a few bad reviews would drive customers my way. He clenched his teeth in frustration, his expression filled with regret. My plan to get a convenient woman while eliminating a rival, all gone to waste. Instead of admitting his guilt, Derek became defensive and even started berating Lisa. "Damn it. I should never have chosen a woman like you. I wanted a younger, more obedient wife, but you were the only one gullible enough. So I had no choice. Seeing Derek insult the woman who had been his fiancée until now with such an ugly expression was unbearable. I grabbed Derek by the collar, unable to let this go any further. There are things you should and shouldn't say. Apologize to her. Apologize? For what? You should be grateful I'm marrying an old maid. You should have just kept quiet. Unable to hold back, I was about to punch him. But before I could, Lisa slapped him across the face. Lucky for you, you don't have to marry such a woman. Goodbye, and don't ever show your face to me again. Derek, with a swollen cheek, left our company muttering complaints. A few seconds later, a large splash was heard as a result of a small prank. I had asked James to place a bucket full of water in a position Derek was likely to kick over. If he had noticed and avoided it, James was supposed to dump another bucket of water from the floor above, but it didn't come to that. Left behind, Lisa, instead of showing shock, started making phone calls with a determined look. Hello, regarding the contract we had, we've decided to discontinue our dealings. I'll explain the details later. Please relay my regards to Derek. It seemed she was calling her former fiancé's company. After finishing her calls, Lisa turned to me. Slapping her cheek to reset her mood, she said, I've decided to cancel the contract with Derek's company. It was a major deal, so it should significantly impact them. It's a pity I won't see his frustrated face, she said. You're tough, I said. There's no point in moping around. That's not like me. So, how about celebrating my continued single status by bar hopping tonight? I shrugged and happily accepted her invitation. That night, Lisa and I shared many stories over drinks at a bar. After her recent heartbreak, she gave me a relieved smile and said, "Thank you," which made me believe she was starting to recover. Afterward, Derek's company lost many of its clients. Especially since crossing Lisa seemed to have a significant impact. Losing a major business partner, Derek's company gradually downsized and eventually went bankrupt. After that incident, I didn't see Derek for a while, but years later, I caught a glimpse of him working at a small spinning mill. He looked emaciated, almost like a completely different person. Meanwhile, our company steadily improved its performance. Thanks to Lisa promoting us as a form of atonement for the trouble caused, orders for wedding dresses tripled. For a while, we struggled to keep up with the workload with our current staff, but we managed to overcome this by hiring more people. By a few years later, our company had grown to be well known locally. Lisa, who had carried a big trauma, eventually had her wedding ceremony without a hitch. It seemed she had moved on from Derek, and I was relieved. If ever she remembers him, I'll be there to support her. After all, I ended up standing beside her at the wedding venue as her partner. Lisa, wearing the custom-made wedding dress I created, was stunningly beautiful. She gave me a radiant smile, just like the one I remember a girl from the neighborhood having when I was young.